Hi and welcome to my channel. Too often history can explain modern politics. I'm not saying that modern politics can always be explained by things happened hundreds of years in the past, but very often um, history shows us that there is a blueprint that can help explain modern day politics. And China is a case in point. Just recently, I came across an article by um, the former security advisor of President Trump, General McMaster, who wrote in The Atlantic a very well researched article on China's foreign policy and how it relates to Chinese history. I recommend this article very much, and I want to add a few details to the explanation and to the argumentation given by McMaster. Now, China, he says, is not willing to play by the rules. That was the hope of the Western world when China, under Deng Xiaoping in 1978, embarked on a road to prosperity, and that means less socialism, more market economy, although, as we all know, China still is an authoritarian regime. Now, the hope of the Western world was that once China is growing into the international order, is more and more part of a free trade network and benefits from free trade and interaction with other countries, it would learn how to play by the rules. It would accept the international norms and laws and conventions. And as we can see, this is not the case. China currently is still not only authoritarian in its inside, it also has a fundamental problem with the idea of an international order that rests on sovereign states. Instead, China, and this is the argumentation of General HR McMaster, and I fully agree with him in that point, China wants a more tributary system. It gives out benefits to other countries in exchange for submission. In the 17th century, there was a quarrel at that time between centralization and decentralization. The centralization came from the emperor. The decentralization was closely connected to Chinese feudalism. This problem was solved by a kind of harmony. Actually, centralization and decentralization were no longer seen as irreconcilable forces, but forces that add to each other. And under the Ming, we find that China extended its trade networks, and then under the Qing, also called the Manchu dynasty, we find a even stricter centralization and expansion at the same time. And this all mounted up actually to, in the 19th century, to the idea of a China that is both centralized, authoritarian, and has no actual borders. The German China expert Helmut Schmidt-Glinzer once said, There is a character trait in Chinese politics and in Chinese society that can be called a forced harmony. And this forced harmony explains much of what is going on within China and in China's foreign policy. So the conclusion we can draw here is that, yeah, I personally find it great and wonderful that China has become so prosperous, so wealthy, and is so much part in the globalized world. I'm personally a great fan of a globalized world. I would never want to be living in a world that is not globalized. And I really find it fascinating for China that it has become so rich within 30-40 years, which is simply amazing. At the same time, we must not be naive here and believe that China in the near future will play by the rules of an international world order. The Western world must be alert and, yes, should force China to accept the international order, the idea of sovereign states. You don't want to live in a feudalized world order with tributary states and that were given incentives for submission. Thanks for watching. I hope you like this video. If you want to watch more, please give it a thumbs up. Don't hesitate to subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you soon.